For Nevada State Bank. We are the proud sponsor of the breakfast series. One of the things that Nevada State Bank is known for is we have a rich culture of supporting not only our business community as business partners, but events like this to help enrich us. I have been so excited about the series, and it keeps growing. When we first started the series, there's probably 20 or 30 of us. And now look around the room, it has really grown. And I want to thank Northern Nevada Business Weekly for doing such a great job and picking such wonderful speakers that are so diverse. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Don Tatro. I have actually known Don for several years. His wonderful family is also here. But it's funny, the memories I have of Don, you are going to enjoy him so much. Not only is he highly intelligent, he has a very diverse background, but you take him out in Boston, and you will have the best time in the world. He is a lot of fun, let me tell you. So with that, enjoy your breakfasts, and I'll turn it over to Don.
Thank you. I'm already blushing. We're off to a good start, and I just thank God she didn't go any further into the Boston trip. It was fun, though, and a good time. But no, thank you to Northern Nevada Business Weekly, Nevada State Bank, for allowing myself, Jesse Haw, and Greg Peek the opportunity to just talk about the industry, talk about building, kind of where we are and what we foresee happening. There's a lot of good things going on in the community, and want to continue that. So we'll kind of dive in here. I plan to not take too much time, so that way we can leave it open to Q&A. So the first thing I'll start with is what is Builders Association of Northern Nevada, BAN? And a lot of people don't know, including my son. He asked me, Dad, can you come to my school and teach the kids how to build? It's like, no. I teach them how to read legislative texts, preventative ways, and go over some numbers until they go to sleep, but I don't think that's what you want. So first of all, BAN was started 60 years ago. A bunch of builders got together, and instead of having to go in front of individual electeds or in front of the planning commission alone when there was an issue, they wanted to have a group and a louder voice. So 60 years ago, that's how BAN started. So one of the most critical things that we do at BAN is advocacy, and we meet with legislators. Greg Peek's our legislative committee chair, and Jesse sat in there as well. We meet with every elected official nearly, interview them, both sides of the aisle, ask them about issues specific to the industry. And then we're also very involved in the legislative process. We're very involved at the city level. We're very involved with anything that has to do with the industry and business in general. As part of the advocacy portion, I was recently named chairman of Mayor Sheevy and Vice Mayor Neil Medjardin's Building and Housing Development Task Force. I'm on an affordable housing committee, so my job is to go out and advocate on behalf of the industry, on behalf of builders, and in turn, that helps everyone else because we have affordable product, hopefully, coming to market. We meet with building officials, and we go over all the industry issues, the codes, the energy codes that come out, a whole host of things, plumbing, electrical codes. They're always changing, and we're very involved in that piece. We also have what I call the mothership, which is the National Association of Home Builders, and they're very involved on the federal level, whether it be the Waters of the U.S. ruling, writing amicus briefs for the Supreme Court. We're involved with and help them, and they help us locally. And the thing that we're after and that I'm always looking for when we're talking to these electeds is finding predictability in a very unpredictable building environment. We can't put building into a manufacturing warehouse that's built on site by multiple individuals in multiple areas. So we're trying to look for a way to make that as predictable as possible. So when you're looking at something that takes 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, that you know what your costs are going to be. The next portion that we do is education. This kind of speaks for itself. We have committees. We bring in people from all over the community, whether it's building officials, electeds, people going over master plans, whatever it is, we're heavily involved in that. And then we also do a lot of career development, salesperson development, and that kind of thing. And then obviously networking. We put on a whole host of events similar to this, and let people in the industry get together, share ideas, and grow their businesses from like-minded people in the industry. So that's kind of the overview of BAND. So now we'll dive into sort of where I see things, and I'm sure these two gentlemen will disagree with me in some areas, but how we got to where we are in a very heated housing market where it's very competitive, very low vacancy rates all across the board, whether it be commercial, industrial, or residential. And the first thing I say is bad luck. The recession hit, you can point fingers, play the name game, but the reality is easy money, heavy leverage. It was a bad time. Everyone here can remember it. Hopefully, we quit talking about that soon. And my son will be, yeah, Dad always talked about this horrible time. But, you go through these cycles, whether it be the dot-com bust or whatever. Unfortunately, it was kind of ground zero here, and it hit a lot of people personally because it had to do with housing rather than a bunch of tech stocks. But what happened then was a bunch of projects stopped. There were unfinished lots. Projects throughout the region, you could drive by, foundations were poured, stuff was half done. So there was a lot of easily accessible projects just waiting in the wings. Then through some hard work with folks like Edon, Abby Whitaker here, who's a champion of Reno, and everyone got on board and just said, hey, we're gonna make this work. We're gonna attract people from the outside, bring in new business, and then combine that with a little bit of luck, you get to where we are today. So in 2014-15, projects start moving along. Those easy projects I talked about, they start building those, and it doesn't take much. You don't have to go through the city planning and where all those staffs have been cut down and downsized or right-sized. You can just move along. It's already there, ready to go. 2016, things were moving a little quicker. I see some builders in the room. They were going, yeah, this is fun again. We're working. And then today, they call me and they go, Don, I can't do this, this, and this because we don't have labor, we don't have these things. It's hang on tight. It is go time. It's no stop in sight. So we went from nothing to do. Everyone got a little busy and excited, and now everyone's hair's on fire, and it's a lot of fun. And hang on, because there's a lot more coming up. But what you're seeing now is all the projects that were finished or started, stopped. Those are finished. The easy stuff's gone. Everyone's back into planning phases, having to send things through entitlement. You're looking at raw land. You're having to go through a 24-month process just to see if you can get the lots approved. Just to go from, sagebrush to a map. And so that's a long time, and that takes a lot of guts to say, you know what, I think in 3 years we're going to be able to put a house on this and finish a project. So, and then you had city staff scale down, and now they're going, oh, we're too busy. They're hiring up. You've lost a lot of institutional knowledge with a lot of people retiring or forced retirements or moving on and leaving the industry. And then you come back into a huge demand, and that's what's picked up, and we're seeing the slow time to market. But there are a lot of people working on it. And there are a lot of people like these two going through the permitting process, but it takes years. And so you'll start to see that inventory and supply. We have far exceeded this pace before. If you look at, this is just kind of some random years that I picked out. But you can see we're not even to 1985 where we built over 4,000 homes. We last year pulled permits for just under 2,000 homes. So I feel like a lot of people, when I talk to them, they go, oh, there's 15,000 new homes going up in my neighborhood. Probably 100. It's a lot different. So things are ramping up. It just takes time. And we have a relatively consistent low volume in this region. The 4,000, 2,000, 3,000 number I just read, I think last night, that Las Vegas last month did, or for the year, they've already done 3,000 single-family permits. And we won't even do that this year. We may hit 2,000 based on the winter we had. So there's a lot of differences between these markets. And when people say, building's out of control, oh my gosh, where are we going to put these people? Not as many people as you think. In this slide, what a lot of people don't understand is how growth pays for growth. And when you have a new home coming in and what that means to the community, and I think these numbers they're national numbers, but they illustrate how important it is to have growth in the community. We all know what 2010 felt like. You didn't want to go outside. You didn't want to talk to some guy because he was probably losing his job. It was tough. And that's what it looks like when you don't have growth in the community. But when you have growth in the community, you get your concerts, your restaurants, your flights, your art, and industry coming here. You get a vibrant economy, you get a vibrant neighborhood feel. And so I do think that growth is critical to this region and to any community that wants to be healthy and wants a place where your kids want to grow up. So now when we kind of look at where we are today again, in 2017 is really a complex situation. And the seniors, they're off their rocker, they are. They're not moving around. They're staying in the home or even sometimes going to a bigger home. They're not going and living with their kids. They're not doing the traditional things of going to, the senior living facilities. I mean, you have my dad right here. He's pretty old, and he goes snowshoeing, mountain biking. The conversation at breakfast was about mountain biking, snowshoeing, hiking, and all these things. So seniors are off their rocker. They're not just kicking back, sipping tea, watching the kids play in the yard. They're doing stuff. Trust me, I try to get them to babysit. It's awesome. Then you go to the next phase, and you have the largest. The boomers are going out of the workforce, and you have the millennials coming in, and they're now the largest portion of the workforce. And it's crazy because they're a little bit crazy. They don't really know what they want. They saw their parents lose a lot of equity in their homes. You see they have different interests. They're buying homes later. Their homes are going to be different looking than what traditionally we have. So they want $9 coffees, and they want to shop at thrift shops, and they love flannel. My brother's one. I give him a hard time every time. But I'm like, you do look pretty cool. And they like the outdoors. And so this is a very attractive region for millennials because you can go fishing with barbless hooks, for God's sake, and then you come back down and have your fish tacos. It's a complete thing. And then the next thing, it is reverse manifest destiny. People are headed east. If you look at California, you can't get out of there quick enough. You have $800,000 of equity in your home. Things are a little bit crazy. You don't have a lot of land. You look over here. Wow, that's nice. So you have a cash buyer coming in for high-end homes. That's another area where we're feeling this pent-up sort of pressure in the housing market. And you have national politics. Like I said, we're not going there. But it's got a lot of confusion on international trade, lumber, all these things. They're conflicting, and so your material costs are going up because of it. But then they think they're going to get a tax break, so they're moving stuff around, and it's got a lot of confusion at the top end there. Rightfully so. We're all a little bit confused too. Interest rates are going up. We know that, so it's going to be more expensive to borrow. So you're looking at these things. And then the regulation portion, this is an area we can control. This is one of my pet peeves, and it's what I go to work on a daily basis. Is 25% of a new home cost is regulation. It is documented fact. So, and that number has increased 30% of 5 to 7 years. And you wonder, why would you increase it? You weren't selling homes. And it was like, oh yeah, government tried to fix it so that people would buy homes. Now homes are more expensive. So that's just kind of how that one worked out. And when you get this meddling and people trying to fix stuff, it doesn't usually work well. But we'll show you a slide later that I think will illustrate that a little bit more. But the costs are going up. we have a lot of demand going on. And so when you look at these guys who build for a living, it's very difficult to find that affordable level. And so I'll kind of wrap up my remarks there and turn it over to Mr. Peek, and he can kind of go over. Anyway, he's aging in place.
Good job, Don. Good morning. My name is Greg Peek. Thank you for allowing us to speak about our industry. It's something that I'm a third generation multifamily builder and developer here in Reno. Product of the local schools, went to Hunter Lake, Swope, and Reno High School. Proudly from Reno. I've lived in a lot of other places throughout the United States, but I came back to Reno because, as Don said, it's a really great place. On Saturday, I went skiing, biking, and swimming, all with my boys. And there's a few places that you can really do that. With that, though, as Don says, this reverse manifest destiny, I was talking to somebody earlier who represents that from California and came into Reno and really enjoys Reno. The problem is, when we see that, we're seeing a lot of people who want to shut the door behind them. And it's really difficult for us in our industry to deal with that because this growth has been predicted for a long time and we need to be ready for it. And finally, I think our local governments are taking note of this. Mayor Hillary Sheevy's housing task force is really a step in the right direction. But when it comes to regulation, we need a top-down look at how we do things. And we'll get into why that is necessary. As developers, we face risk, regulation, and time to market. And it's a tricky business. It's something that you have to have a lot of wherewithal. You have to have pretty thick skin and determination. We just started a 328-unit apartment complex in the North Valleys. We've had that special use permit for 10 years, and we've worked very diligently to keep that special use permit alive for 10 years. So fortunately, we had the zoning for it and the entitlement for it. It would be difficult to get it in the same place today. But we're facing labor costs, we're facing materials costs, and ultimately that is all passed on to the consumer. So as developers, we crave stability of the economy. If you listen to Mike Kazimierski at EDON, he's arguing the bubble is not a bubble, the demand is real. It's a simple supply and demand equation, and the demand is there. So the only thing that we can really do as an industry is respond to that demand. That's what we do. We don't create demand, we respond to the demand. And I happen to agree with Mike Kazimierski with all the new industry that's coming here. So the diversification of our economy, what was it, 40,000 new jobs, or 50,000 new jobs and 40,000 new residential units needed in our area. We're lagging behind. We need to figure out how to streamline that process. The current price of a new home is $440,000. That's a new home. The current price of an existing home is $330,000. Think about that for a minute. Think about whether your kids are going to be able to afford that. Which gets back to the other point, and this is my market. This is my market. This is the renters. We believe in home ownership, so we respond to renting. We create stability of economy, regulatory predictability. Unfortunately, that's pretty difficult right now. Uncertainty of the process, and that's the timeliness issue. I will tell you that I've been stuck in getting my building permits to go vertical now for several weeks, and so there is no certainty of process. Every day costs more money. The construction generally represents 10 to 15% of the U.S. economy. What happened to the construction industry in the collapse? Well, Don sort of touched on it. I have friends who were framers that are now barbers. I have friends that are plumbers that are now selling insurance. They're not coming back to our industry. So our industry truly was dismantled. And it's not as simple as just flipping a switch. We have the regulatory process, which is 2, 3, 4 years, sometimes longer. We have apprentices that we need to train. There's a reason that we have licensing for plumbers and electricians. It's a tricky business. It's a hard business. And if you don't do it right, you get sued. So it's something that's very deliberate. And our industry was totally and absolutely dismantled. So when we're talking about labor today, we just don't have it. We simply do not have it. My labor costs have doubled, literally doubled. How has home ownership changed? Well, I'll tell you that the average age of the first-time home buyer has increased. It is now 31 years old. It used to be 25 years old 20 years ago. The home ownership generally in our population has gone from 69% down to just north of 60%. The Urban Land Institute says that it's going to get down to the low 50s in the next 20 years. Is that good for the fabric of our culture? I don't know. That's a philosophical question. I suggest not. As Don mentioned, why is it taking so long to build new inventory? I think we've hit on that a little bit. All the easy stuff is gone. All the finished lots are gone. All the entitled lots are gone. So we're having to take raw land that is maybe farmland or forest land and go through that entitlement process. And it is not easy. When you're talking to neighborhoods and say, hey, I'd like to build this apartment complex here, or this school here. I'd like to build a new school in the local golf course that's not being used. You heard about that recently. I'd like to build a new housing project up in Collin Ranch. Even though that's been zoned that way for a gazillion years, that community came unglued. So a lot of people, they say they want housing, they say they want low-cost housing, but when it comes down to it, they don't want it next to them. It's really, really difficult. There's simply no more low-hanging fruit. And as the slide says, the entitlement process, there are conundrums there. And I want to be very clear. I don't blame the staff. The city of Reno, the city of Sparks, and Washoe County staffs, they are wonderful. But they are bogged down in a process that needs to be revamped. And it starts with the matter revised statutes and goes all the way down to the city code. Our entitlement process is so incredibly fractured. We have to go to so many different departments in so many different ways. And rather than having concurrent time periods for review, you have consecutive time periods for review. And just to getting a simple building permit for a simple house can take nearly a year. Think about that for a moment. Think about the amount of resources and the amount of financing you have to build a house, withstand that 1 year, that's very less than 1 year. It's a very fractured process and it needs to be revamped. We'd really like to do that. And then the stability of demand. We talked about that again a little bit. Is there a bubble? I don't know. I don't think so. I do think that there is a demand. The next slide, we get there. Yes, we have to. This comes from the Johnson Perkins Growth Report. I just threw this in here because a lot of people talk about the cost of housing. I want to talk about the price of multifamily. This just goes back to 2012. And on the bottom, you'll see vacancy rates. The red line represents the actual average cost of all multifamily units. And you'll see very clearly as vacancy goes down, prices go up. Adam Smith, economics. I don't know if they teach that in schools anymore, but supply and demand. So I would suggest to you that as supply comes on, you'll see a stabilization of that red line. It might flatten out a little bit, but right now, my apartments, we have 729 apartments, we're over 99%. And we can't be fuller. And the only reason we're at 99% is it takes me about 10 days to turn an apartment. This graph is actually an internal graph of my company, ERGS Properties. And it's a little bit taking you behind the curve, but that's okay. On the left-hand side is August 8th. These are our average price rents across our properties. And you'll see we were pretty flat going into the recession. And as the recession hit, our vacancy started climbing. One of our properties, we hit 19% vacancy. And we just had to make the decision to do it across the board, 15 to 20% rent reduction. And you'll see that in 2010. And I don't know about where your margins are for your businesses, but when you're taking a 15 to 20% hit in your revenue, that eats into your margin. And quite frankly, we were lucky to stay afloat. It took a long time to start getting our prices back. And you can see we have a long stretch there, all the way into 14 and 15. And then as demand started coming, as the Tesla and other announcements came, and demand started becoming real, and frankly, our vacancy started to climb, we were able to increase rents. And you see where we are today. We didn't get back to where we were in 2010 until 2015. It took a long time, and I will tell you it hurt. It's real stuff, very risky. A I want to go back to a quick slide. If we can. No, we won't do that. The numbers that Don showed you earlier with regard to multifamily, the multifamily starts and the single family starts. He was talking about having in 2005 about 6,000 residential starts. That's multifamily and single family. Traditionally, multifamily has been 18 to 25% of residential starts. In 2016, residential or multifamily comprises 36% of the residential units. In 2017 to date, multifamily is exceeding single-family starts. And why is that? Why is that important? Well, I personally, I guess maybe just being an old Reno guy and being the son of George, I believe in home ownership. I believe that home ownership, when you buy a home, you're putting a stake in the ground. You're saying, this is where I live. And you become part of that community. You become the Little League coach, the softball coach, the Girl Scout mom. And you live and you work here. And you say, this is our community. I live here, and I have an investment in this community. So I believe in home ownership. I truly do. And in fact, just for as a philosophical aside, when somebody comes to us and wants out of their lease because they're buying a home, we allow them to do that because we believe that much in ownership. Multifamily is coming, and it's simply not coming fast enough right now. The numbers are what they are. We're full, everybody's full. People need places to live. UNR has announced that for the summer they're going to open up their dorms for Panasonic, Tesla, Switch employees. I'm guessing that staying the summer at the dorms is probably not a long-term housing solution. It's just something that we really need to think about. I was there 5 years. Is multifamily what we need? Again, culturally, I leave that to you. But I believe in home ownership, but I believe that we need a variety of types of housing. Everything from the entry-level single-family house, entry-level apartments, to very nice apartments, and to very nice single-family homes, and everything in between. And that's what we need to impress upon our elected leaders. We need to find ways to manufacture a variety of types of houses. Not everybody, and I hate to say this, not everybody wants to live downtown in the urban corridor. Even the Reno Reimagined surveys suggest that while young people want to live downtown, ultimately they want to have the yard, they want to have a fence, and they want to raise their kids in a suburban environment. We need to figure out as a community how to produce that variety of stuff. Millennials. I'm not as wrapped up about young kids not buying houses as a lot of people are. I like to rent too. But the reality is, millennials are starting their lives later. We all are. As Don mentioned, his father is still mountain biking. The average age right now of millennial, peak millennial, if you will, is 27 years old. The average age of the first-time home buyer is 31. They have time to grow up. They have time to build houses, buy houses, have a family, and things like that. So I'm not wrapped up as many people are, but we need to make that available to them. Similar to single family that Don showed earlier, the multifamily numbers, we can demonstrate through every economic study that there is, the multifamily pays for itself. We pay a lot of taxes, we employ a lot of people, house a lot of people. Multifamily is a good bet for local government because it concentrates needs. Whether is it good for a long-term culture, again, I leave that to you. So I'm really looking forward to the answer and question and answer portion of this later. But, thank you very much. I'll turn it over to our single-family builder, Jesse. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. My name is Jesse Haw, and I'm a third-generation home builder as well. I started full-time in 1990, mostly out in Spanish Springs. I think the list Don went through before he got to me was an extensive one, but here I am, and I'll let you know at least what my perspective from the building side, what our struggles are, and what the limitations are for Northern Nevada. First, I'd like to reflect back, and as I said, I was a builder in 1990, and up through 2002, we were doing about 300 homes a year. And eventually the recession came to where we did none. And in 2007, the light switch was shut off, and we sat in a dark room, and you fired everybody who become family, and a lot of people who were family. We went from 209 employees to 5. In 2012, we bought some lots that were on sale, if you will. We bought them for about $30,000. That was less than the fees cost to build the lots. So we were buying them well undervalued, or under the cost, replacement cost. And I can remember it was 2012 and interest rates were, vacancy rates were high. It was just a black time. It was a tough time, and I was excited and I was really nervous. We were going to do 5 houses. And the first house, we went out, and there was a guy on a tractor, and I'm driving up, and I was in Wingfield Springs, and the guy on the tractor got out. No one had done that before, and he walked over, and I jumped out and introduced myself, and he asked, "Are you the builder?" And I said, "Yeah, nice to meet you, I'm Jesse." He took his hat off and literally had tears in his eyes and said, "I haven't worked for 3 years. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to feed my family and be proud of what I do." And I remember that. And now I couldn't hire him. He's so busy that he's got millions. But there's a time when you connect with the people and what you're doing, and that young family that moves in and can afford this. And that's why I do this. So, look at the market right now. You guys are all here and you recognize it's a crazy time. And what is driving that? So from a builder's perspective, we simply stopped building lots in the downturn. 2007-ish came and the supply was literally shut off. Not just building homes, but building lots. And building lots takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of forethought, and getting through a lot of government agencies. So the pipeline is gone. Building new lots are costly. It's a big risk. Banks have to come along. Federal guidance to those banks have to come along. And so our partners and our strategic folks aren't all there that they used to be. And so it takes time for our little human organisms to build up these infrastructures and support the infrastructure to build these lots. Taking a step back, we have to say what's causing this demand. Why all of a sudden is Reno hard to buy a house? And the biggest reason is in migration, meaning more people coming into Reno than are leaving. And a year ago, we all talked about Tesla, and we had this thing, and Panasonic, and Switch, and all this stuff, but I don't think it was really affecting us yet. This is the first year, at least for me, where we're selling houses, and Joe Blow says, I work for Panasonic, and I need a house, and a place at UNR. And so you're finally seeing that. So in-migration coupled with new familial units, like grandma, little Johnny graduates and then he needs a job. So all that adds up to more supply than, more demand than there was supply. And so those drivers are pushing the demand up. I'd like to say that builders take a lot of heat for traffic, for all this stuff. It's their fault. But you saw what happened in 2007. If people aren't buying homes, we stop building. And it's kind of like blaming the Undertaker for somebody who gets killed. It's possible, but it's not likely that that's what drives. So, we're just a messenger here. So if we get past the point of, I get it, there's a demand, and I get it, we're out of lots, why aren't we building more lots? And when you look at that, labor is our number one issue in Northern Nevada. We just don't have the people. We are at 60% of labor construction people from 2007. And so to expect us to be able to build more, it simply just can't happen. We physically can't do it. The framers are walking off, going down the road for $1 more, and it happens day after day after day, and we don't have enough population to do it. We don't have the labor. So labor is number one, and then the rest in no particular order is banking is a challenge. I don't blame the banks. They're still being guided by the federal government, and so there's a challenge with A&D loans. There's a challenge with banking. Government fees, weather is probably something we don't talk about, but I can almost tell you we probably lost 72 to 75 days, and that translates to 10 or 15, maybe 20%. We will do less this year, and our supply will be constricted by at least 10 to 15, maybe 20%, just because of weather. And it's great, we need the weather, but that is a true fact. In the government itself, they're going to take a lot of beating because it's just easy to blame government. That's also what we like to do. But the truth is they have peaks and valleys as well. A lot of the institutional knowledge is left. They retired. They just didn't want to deal with it. We demanded that government had a freezing hire, stop hiring people. If there's nothing for them to do, don't hire them. And so you have a gap in there, and it's going to take a while to build that infrastructure up. At the same time, we're demanding government stop raising our taxes. We don't want to pay taxes. And so what you've seen, and what Don alluded to, is in the last 5 years, government has raised fees by 29 or 30%. Because it's easy to tax that guy who doesn't live there yet. It's really hard to tax you guys, because you guys will throw them out of office and they don't have a job. So that's a trend that's going, but what we're doing is we're hurting those people. We're not hurting the median income. We're certainly not hurting the top people. But when you raise that fee by $1,000 or $2,000, you're hurting the people who can barely qualify. And those are the people we want to lift up and help. So I don't blame the government. It's just a reality of where we are, and I think that's something that we have to try to work through. And I'll have an illustration of that a little bit later. Finally, helping government as well is Greg mentioned that people see, or somebody mentioned that people see there's congestion, and now there's all these houses being built, and so the builders are doing that. And then they sit in traffic and they get frustrated, which is understandable. So they call the local official, county commission, or city council, and they show up and they say, stop approving this stuff. And it's not and so they oftentimes do, they vote no. And so as a builder, I talked to the largest builder in northern Nevada, and they're staying away from certain places, certain governments. They don't want to build there because they get projects turned down. They're legally approved because of pressure from the residents, and that affects us. That affects us all. And it's something it's hard to point to, but I can tell you that is what's happening. Just breaking down the fees a little bit. This is an example from Carson City, which average fee is a little under $13,000. And if you look in Spanish Springs, for example, you're around $40,000 for the same, I would say, the same kind of fees: water, sewer, gas, utilities, schools, parks, all that kind of stuff. And so those are just hidden things that perhaps the city council passes or county commission passes, and understanding they're trying to stay afloat as well. But that goes right to the consumer. And if it's a $300,000 house, you're saying whatever that comes out to, it's 13-14%. It's a real impact. So we have to be cognizant of how we tax ourselves. We have to be cognizant of not putting all the burden on first-time home buyers. Okay, so what's going on in a macro sense in Nevada? Tort reform is real. In the last in 2000, in the last session, we're just about to end our current session at the legislature. But in the last session, we had good tort reform for construction, AB 125, and that helped a lot of people, especially detached builders, from putting new products in place. And attached products like condominiums and stuff, that's a way to get a lower price point. We can reach that $300,000 level by having attached products, with a common wall. And AB 125 helped solve a lot of the frivolous lawsuits, which was holding that back. And that's one of the reasons you're seeing more multifamily projects coming on, was because of the tort reform we had. Now, in the session we are currently enduring, we had at least two bills that we're trying to roll all that stuff back. And I can tell you, at a state level, if that happens and the governor signed it, you would have a lot of private builders stop building, and I would guarantee you have less attached product, because it is a simple way for no offense to some attorneys from suing frivolously. So tort reform is something that we need to monitor going forward.